श्रीशैलेशदयापात्रम् धीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवम् यतीन्द्रप्रवणम् वन्दे रम्यजामातरम् मुनिम् लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भाम् नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् यो नित्यम् अच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणम् प्रपद्ये लोकाचार्याय गुरवे कृष्णपादस्य सूनवे संसारभोगिसन्दष्टजीवजीवातवे नमः।
ईशैलेशदयापात्रम् धीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवम् यतीन्द्रप्रवणम् वन्दे रम्यजामातरम् मुनिम् यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणम् प्रपद्ये लोकाचार्याय गुरवे कृष्णपादस्य सूनवे संसारभोगिसन्दष्ट जीवजीवातवे नमः. So we continue with the exposition of the 55th sutra. So in the 54th sutra, Pillai says, Akarattale Kalyana Gunangalai Chulluhayade in the Sheshatvam Gunattale Vandadu. One very important concept that is to be noted in this context is, he says, Akarattale Kalyana Gunangalai Chulluhayade in the Sheshatvam Gunattale Vandadu. So I was explaining in the previous class how an adjective that is used in a particular context will be more meaningful when it is pertinent to the context. If it is not pertinent to the context, the adjective becomes meaningless. And many a times, according to the what is known as Sahitya Shastra, or according to the rules of I don't know whether there is a right word, equivalent word in Sanskrit to say Sahitya Shastra, because there is a ocean-like system of philosophy that deals with the authoring of poetry in Sanskrit. It might be poetry, it might be prose, which is known as Gadya and Padya, and also Champu, which is a combination of Gadya and Padya. Gadya Paya Padyamayam Kavyam Champuritya Vidhiyate. So when we talk about a body of literature, there is a huge amount of there are a huge large number of treatises which actually define what is the Lakshana or what is the definition of a Padya Kavya, that is a body of literature that is authored in the form of poetry. Then you have Gadya Kavyas, which is in the form of prose. Then you have Champu, very beautiful Champus like Champu Bharata, Champu Ramayana, Champu Bhagavata, etc. It's a combination of poetry and prose. I am not sure whether such branches or categories exist in any other language in the world. Of course, in Kannada and Tamil there are several kavyas like this. In Hindi it is there. And in English we read about the classics and also the classics of Shakespeare, which like Macbeth and so many other things, so many other. But I don't know whether they are as much in number as they are in Sanskrit language. And secondly, is there any rule book which actually defines what is the definition of a kavya, how it comes into existence, what are the qualities of a good kavya, what are the fallacies or faults that can occur in the kavya, etc., etc., etc. As far as my knowledge goes, and according to what I have heard, such an elaborate system of knowledge or knowledge system about literature does not exist in any other language in the world. Of course, for Kannada and South Indian languages, and also for Hindi and other North Indian languages, there are certain such treatises which are called as Lakshana Granthas. But 90% of them are borrowed from Sanskrit only, are based on the knowledge of Sanskrit. Why I am telling this is Akaratvare Kalyana Gunangadai Cholluhira Padiyare. So, and I also explained in a classic example where the adjective used to describe a person during a particular context, how it has to be very meaningful and also how it has to be very apt and according to the situation. Otherwise, it will be meaningless. And in Sanskrit, in the Shastras, we also say Vyartha Visheshanatva. Giving an unnecessary adjective is not only a deficiency, it's also a grave fault. Actually. So here he says, Akarattale Kalyana Gunangali Cholluheyale Dasheshatvam Gunattale Vandadi. So it is well known that the Sheshatva or subservience of the Jivatma to the Paramatma is natural. But is there anything more to it than that? The answer is yes. Since the Supreme Lord Narayana is the repository of all the auspicious qualities, there is no other option or there is no other go other than the Jivatma becoming subservient to the Supreme Lord. So we are reminded of a situation or instance in Ramayana where Lakshmana introduces himself as well as Rama to Hanuman in the beginning of the Kishkindha Kanda. So first Hanuman approaches Rama and Lakshmana, and he, in a very polished and beautiful language, he asks who Rama and Lakshmana are. And after Anjaneya or Hanuman completes his speech or completes his conversation or his part of the conversation with Rama and Lakshmana, then Rama says, please talk to this great person who has delivered a wonderful speech. He actually extols the virtues of the speech of Hanuman in about 15 to 20 shlokas approximately. Then Lakshmana says or introduces Rama and himself to Hanuman. And when he introduces himself, he says, Ahamasya varo bhrata gunair dasya mupagataha. He says, I am his younger brother. Not only I am his younger brother, I am also his servant who is always subservient to him. Why has Rama forced me into subservience? Many times we see some elder brother who is more elder in age, he will actually force his younger brother to subservience. Or a father will force a son into subservience. A master or an employer will force an employee into subservience. But in this context, Lakshmana, when talking about himself, he says, Gunairdasyamupagatah. And according to the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, the four brothers, namely Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata and Shatrughna, represent four most important concepts that are associated and unique to Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. So we see Rama is the Supreme Lord Narayana because even Mandodari in the Sundraga, at the end of Yuddha Kanda, she says, Tamasah Paramodhata Shankachakrakada Srivatsavakshaha Nityashrihi Adayyaha Shashwataha Dhruvaha, etc. So Mandodari realized Rama to be none other than Lord Narayana himself. And in then Brahma, when he extols the qualities of Rama and also tells him. So when Brahma and others come to meet Rama after Ravana has killed and Sita has entered the fire, Rama says, Atmanam Manusham Manye Ramam Satya Parakramam Ramam Dasharathatmajam Koham Kasya Kuto Vaham Bhagavam Stadbravitu Me. So I will not elaborate too much because it will become a Ramayana lecture. But this is very pertinent to the current context, that is why I am telling it. So Rama says, I don't know who I am. I know that I am the son of Dasharatha. You please tell me who I am. Then there is a beautiful stotra or propitiation by Brahma about Rama. It's called Brahmakrita Ramastava. The stotra of Rama by Brahma, Chaturmukha Brahma, which says, Sita Lakshmihi Bhavan Vishnuhu. Sita is none other than the incarnation of Goddess Lakshmi, and you are none other than Vishnu himself. So he is the Supreme Lord himself. Then Lakshmana is Shesho Lakshmana Uchyate Sakshad Ramo Rakhushreshtha Shesho Lakshmana Uchyate. This statement is found in the final Rama Pattabhisheka Sarga of the Yuddha Kanda. So that is Sheshatvam. That is why he is Shesha. So he is also the Shesha Avatara. That is the Avatara of incarnation of Adi Shesha, who is the first among all the Sheshas. That is, Shesha means serpents, and also Shesha means the one who is subservient to the Supreme Lord. So Lakshmana is Sheshavatara and Shesha Swarupa. He is the incarnation of Adishesha, and also he is the personification of Sheshatva or subservience. And he is called as Bhagavat Shesha. He is subservient to the Supreme Lord. He is always subservient to the Supreme Lord. It is known as Bhagavat Sheshatvam. Then we come to Bharata. That is the third brother, or the third among the four siblings, who is known as Bhagavat Paratantra, one who is Paratantra to Bhagavan. So Paratantra means what? He implicitly obeys the orders of the Supreme Lord. So many a times Shesha may not obey the orders because he has little bit of swatantriya. Because what does Lakshmana say when Rama and Sita have decided to go to the forest? Lakshmana was not invited by Rama to serve him. Whereas Lakshmana himself insists that I want to come with you both to take care of you. Here once again, there is a very, very, very great nuance that exists, which is identified only by the Sri Vaishnava commentators. So this is not to belittle any other commentators, but Sri Vaishnava commentators have been so knowledgeable, so unique in their depth of analysis that they have very beautifully observed this nuance and also mentioned about it in their commentary. So in the Indian context, generally, the general rule is, suppose a daughter has come from her husband's house to her mother's house. And she has to be sent back to the husband's house after staying some time here to have some good time with her parents. So generally when the daughter is sent back, in India, even today, in many cases where tradition is followed, a woman is not sent alone. Of course, in the last 30, 40 years, all the traditions have changed. And it has led to a lot of disasters and also so many things. That is not very good. So when the daughter is being sent by her parents to her in-laws' place or her husband's house, generally she is not sent alone. Either the husband has to come there, come to his in-laws' house, that is the daughter's parents' house, and then take her back to his house. Then the two of them go, then there is no problem. But she is never sent alone because it is not advisable to send women outside alone. That was what was the norm in those days. Except for some ordinary things like if she has to go to a shop or something, that's not an issue. Because they did not have independent employment and all those things. Nowadays, people actually comment upon it as they were depriving the women of their rights and things like that, which is totally incorrect. Because the aim of life itself was totally different from what it is today. So it all depends on that. So I will not go into that. So this is the general rule that when the daughter is sent back to her husband's house, she has to be either accompanied by her husband or somebody else by her, some brother or sometimes even a young cousin would accompany her and drop her at his house or at her husband's house or something like that. Because it is not advisable to send a lady alone to her husband's house. But the Sri Vaishnava Acharyas actually feel otherwise in this case. They say it is advisable, not wrong, not incorrect, to send the daughter alone to her house. Because she will be as if she is in a trance. Because her single-minded focus is on reaching her husband's house. And she is as if in a trance, which is the fruit of penance. So without any hindrance, she will actually reach her husband's house without any problem. So there is nothing wrong in that. Or no problems in that. Whereas it has to be worried that if she is going with her husband, then whether she reaches her destination or not, that is doubtful. Because these two newly married husband and wife, they will forget themselves in the company of each other. And therefore, there has to be an escort to send these two people together. So that is what Lakshmana says. He says, Aham sarvam karishyami jagrata swapatashyate bhavamstu sahavaideshya girisamushuramsyate. When you are sleeping and when you are awake, I will render all services to you. Whether you want it or not, I will render the services. And what will you do? You enjoy your life along with Sita. Bhavamstu sahavaideshya girisamushuramsyate. So here even Lakshmana is not asking for permission. Shall I come with you? He declares himself, I will come with you. Because if you both forget yourself in each other's company, who is there to take care of you? So whether you want it or not, I am going to come with you. And I want to serve you and take care of you, take care of your security, etc. So the Sheshatva is, the person who is Shesha is totally subservient, but he has a little bit of Swatantriya, where he declares, I want to come with you and take care of you. It's like many a times what happens, a young boy wants to enjoy some time alone with his friends. His mother or father is so worried about his security. No, I want to come with you. Then the boy will feel, what is this? My father, he doesn't even understand. I want to enjoy some game of cricket or something and be with my friends. Or I want to make some, cut some jokes or enjoy the company of my peers. He is spoiling the entire show. So like that, that boy might feel. But here, Shesha has a little bit of Swatantriya. He says, I will take care of you, I will come with you. Whereas Bharata is not like that. He is at the next higher level, where he says he is Bhagavat Paratantra. Bhagavat Paratantra means he is totally dependent on the Supreme Lord. Dependent means, dependent is actually an understatement. He is totally commanded by the Supreme Lord. So what happened when Bharata insisted that Rama should come back to the kingdom and become the king? Rama said, nothing doing. I want to take keep up the promise I have given to my father. So I will be here. You go and rule the kingdom, rule over the kingdom. And then, of course, Bharata asked, you please give me your sandals. I will establish them, I will consecrate them, and then in their name I will run the kingdom. So here what happens? Bharata is totally Paratantra, Bhagavat Paratantra. Then the next stage and the further final stage, which is known as Antimopaya Nishtha in Sri Vaishnava philosophy, are both seen under Shatrugna. So in the first shloka of the Ayodhya Kanda of Ramayana, he says, Gacchata matulakulam bharatena tadanakha Shatrugno nitya Shatrugnaha nitah priti puraskritaha. So after the all the wedding parties, that is the four couples, Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata and Shatrugna, along with their consorts, they came back to Ayodhya from Mithila. Bharata wanted to go to his uncle's place. At that time, Valmiki says, Shatrugno nitya Shatrugnaha nitah priti puraskritaha. Shatrugna was taken away by Bharata. That is the literal meaning. So Bharata did not give any choice to Shatrugna, whether, oh Shatrugna, do you want to come with me? Why don't you come with me? Why don't you accompany me? No. He was not given any choice. He was just taken away, just as the example is given. He is a person who is going on a tour. He has to have his clothes and other things that are relevant things. He puts it in a suitcase and takes the suitcase. Will you ask the suitcase whether do you want to accompany me or not? No. Because the suitcase is an insentient entity. So nobody will ask a suitcase whether you want to come with me or not, because it's insentient. It will say, it cannot say yes or no, because it does not have any consciousness. In a similar manner, Shatrugna was taken away by Bharata to accompany him to his uncle's place. So in Shatrugna we see two aspects, that is Bhagavata Paratantriya, that is the first stage, and final stage is Bhagavatar held Sannidhire Achidvat Paratantra. So they call it as Jadavat Paratantriya or Achidvat Paratantriya. So Bhagavan is Rama, then Bhagavat Sheshatva is represented by Lakshmana, Bhagavat Paratantriya is represented by Bharata, and then you have Bhagavata Paratantriya, which is represented by Shatrughna, and the fifth stage is Bhagavata held Sannidhile, Achidvat Paratantraya Kidappadi. So Bhagavata Achidvat Paratantriyam, Bhagavata Vishaye Achidvat Paratantriyam, or Jadavat Paratantriyam. So this is what is known as Antimopaya Nishtha in Sri Vaishnava parlance. Incidentally, I mentioned these things because these concepts are very, very, very important as far as Sri Vaishnava philosophy is concerned. And I am sure this is the uniqueness and greatness of Sri Vaishnava philosophy because it has identified these levels and these concepts which are very, very unique, very interesting, and also enjoyable also. So that is why I said, what is the difference between Sheshatva and Paratantriya? So in Sheshatva, little bit of Swatantriya is there. But in Paratantriya, there is no Swatantriya at all. And in the context of Sheshatva, that is Lakshmana becoming Shesha, why did he become Shesha? Did Rama force him into subservience? No. He says to Lakshmana, Ahamasya avaro bhrata gunair dasya upagata. I have become his servant, having seen his wonderful qualities. So he is such a noble person. Rama is such a noble person that any person worth his salt cannot but do without becoming his servant. So this dasya or sheshatva is voluntary. It is also on account of him, Lakshmana, being a person, good person, honest person, sincere person, and also having come into contact with the wonderful qualities of Lord Rama. Similarly, here also, the Lord is not imposing Sheshatva on us. He is not imposing Sheshatva on the Jivatmas. These Jivatmas have become Sheshas to him, the Supreme Lord, because of the wonderful qualities that exist in the Supreme Lord. So though we actually don't realize the qualities, inherently the Atma, which is Jnanananda Swarupa, is also Shesha because it is aware of the qualities of the Supreme Lord. So that is what is mentioned here. Akarattale kalyana gunangale cholluheyale inda sheshatvam gunattale vandadi. So there are so many relationships. So Amsha-Amshi Bhava is there. Pitraputra Bhava is there between the Atma. They call it as Navavidha Sambandham. Pita cha Rakshaka Sheshi, Swamyadharaha, etc. It is mentioned in a separate work called Navavidha Sambandham in the Jiva by Pillaloka-acharya, one of the Ashtarasha Rahasyas. But here, Sheshatva is the most important aspect that exists in the Jivatma, which is on account of the divine, wonderful, auspicious qualities of the Supreme Lord. So that is what we have to understand here. So that is explained by Swami Manavala Mamani in this manner. Abhimata Vishayattil Sheshatvam Sukharupamahirade Avishayattil Gunamadiya Vandadahiyale Ahiyale Enno Innarulichayhirar Akarattile Endre Todangi அதாவது ஈஸ்வரனுடைய ரக்ஷகத்துவ பிரதிபாதகமான ஆகாரத்திலே அந்த ரக்ஷணோபயோகியான கல்யாண குணங்களை சொல்லுகையாலே ஈஸ்வர விஷயமான இந்த சேஷத்துவம் அந்த குணங்களடியாக வந்தது எங்கை. So Ishvara is the Rakshaka or the protector. What does protection actually mean? Anishta Nivrti and Ishta Prapti. Warding off those that are undesirable and also providing what is desirable. That is what is known as Rakshakatva. That Rakshakatva is mentioned by the akara, and in the meaning of the akara, what is embedded. All the auspicious qualities of the Supreme Lord are embedded in the meaning of akara. Therefore, this Sheshatva or subservience is purely on account of the divine qualities of the Supreme Lord and not on account of some forced, not on account of some force or some compulsion or something like that. ஆகையால் இதுவும் சுகரூபமாயிருக்க குறையில்லை என்ன கருத்து. Why is he mentioning this? He is mentioning this because Bhagavad Sheshatva is of utmost bliss. It gives utmost happiness when one realizes that he is Shesha to the Supreme Lord. He is subservient to the Supreme Lord. As of now, people like me and many other people, why don't we enjoy life? Why don't we crib about many things? No, this is not correct, that is not correct, he is not good, he is not good. I have been wronged in this manner, I have been, many people hurt me, I have been hurt, etc. Because we have not realized our unique quality of Sheshatva or subservience to the Supreme Lord. Once this is realized, once we realize that we are subservient to the Supreme Lord, then no misery can come to this Jivatma or any Jivatma for that matter. Therefore, this Sheshatva is of utmost bliss and happiness. Sheshatva is not of any, is not the cause of any misery, as in the case of where it has come on account of our previous karmas. Having mentioned that, he says, the 55th Sutra, Sheshatvame Atmavakya Swarupam. And 56th Sutra says, Sheshatvamillada Podu Swarupam Illai. So, the reason that we have not understood ourselves is what he is going to tell next. Atmapaharamavade Swatantram Indiraninaive Swatantramam Podu Illayai Vidum. So, when a person, whether it is me or you or anybody for that matter, if he thinks I am independent, I am not subservient to anybody, then he fails to exist. He is as good as non-existent. That is the literal meaning of these three sutras, which is commented upon by Muni in a beautiful manner. Anal upadhikamana idu swarupame enna swarupamanne enna rudichaira. So the question arises, if this is on account of some particular condition, then how is it that it is very much desirable? Because whatever is unconditional is acceptable in a general sense. Whatever is conditional, it's not acceptable in a general sense. And of course, there are some exceptions. Suppose a young boy who is subservient to his father is asked by the father to study, please study well. So if the young boy says, if you give me a chocolate, I will study, otherwise I will not study. That is totally wrong. Because the young boy is subservient to his father and he has to do what his father has told, because the father always wants, he is interested in the welfare of the son. And therefore, if the son puts some condition, if you give me a chocolate, I will study, then it is totally incorrect. That's what is happening nowadays. Because children are actually bribed to do what is good for them. So therefore, adavade uhanda vishayathil idam sukharupatvatthukku gunakritattvattai hetuva hachulluheyane gunakritattvam ingumundu என்னுமிடத்துக்கு சொன்ன விதனை ஒழிய அர்த்தஸ்திதியை நிரூபித்தால் Svatvamatmani sanjatam swavitvam brahmani sthitam atmadasyam hare swamyam swabhavancha sadasvara dasabhutas sarveshyatmanah paramatmanah namyatha lakshanam tesham bandhe mokshe tathaiva cha. All these are from various Puranas, especially Vishnu Purana. ಇತ್ಯಾದಿಗಳಿವೆ ಇತ್ತೈ ಆತ್ಮಾವಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಭಾವಮಾಹ ಚೊಲ್ಲು ಹೇಯಾಲೆ ಶೇಷತ್ವಮೇ ಆತ್ಮಾವಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವರೂಪಂ ಎಂದೈ. So there are two aspects. One aspect is, since this subservience of the Jivatma is according to is based on the divine qualities of the Supreme Lord, not on anything else, it is actually conditional in a way. But such a condition is an acceptable condition, not an unacceptable condition. It's a desirable condition. That is on one hand. On the other hand, even otherwise, assuming, that is, it's only a hypothetical question, assuming that the Supreme Lord does not possess all these qualities. It's not possible, of course, but as I said, it's a hypothetical question. Even then, the Jivatma is always subservient to the Supreme Lord, because as we all understand, or as we all can realize to a small extent, so the degrees of realization vary from person to person. But I feel I have realized a small iota that nothing is in our hands. Even the breathing, once we breathe out and then inhale and exhalation is not in our hands. Because even while sleeping, inhalation and exhalation happens. Even when a person is unconscious, it happens. Do we do it voluntarily? It's an involuntary thing. That means it is not in our hands, it's in the hands of the Supreme Lord. Similarly, what happens today, what happens in the next moment, we don't know. Because nothing is in our hands. Therefore, everything is in the hands of the Supreme Lord only. We cannot plan. We can plan. We feel we are planning. We feel we are doing everything. But no, it's not like that. Everything is in the hands of the Supreme Lord. Then, does the Jivatma have Swatantriya or not, Kartritva or not, doership or not, agency or not? Yes. He has doership with regard to within a small sphere of life, he has some doership. He has independence. That is why in the Brahma Sutras it says, Karta Shastrarthavatvat. If everything was predetermined, then there would have been no need for the Shastras, which talk about the do's and don'ts of life. But that doesn't mean he has any Swatantriya. So that Swatantriya is also comes under the subservience that is given to him by the Paramatma. Therefore, in this context, he says, Dasabhuta svatas sarveshyatmanaha paramatmanaha. All the Jivatmas are servants of the Supreme Lord by nature. Dasabhutaha svataha sarve atma. All the Jivatmas are by nature, inherently they are dasas, they are subservient to the Supreme Lord. And the anyatha lakshanam tesham. There is no other definition to mention the Jivatma. This is true when they are in the state of bondage, in which state we are all now, and also in moksha. After attaining moksha also, there is no swatantriya for the Jivatma. Of course, the Upanishad says, Tasya sarveshu lokeshu kamacharo bhavati, etc., etc., satya kama, satya sankalpa, etc. But even that is under the subservience of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, ityadi hadile ittai atma swabhavikamaha chudhe ane sheshatvame atma swarupam yangai. Then Swami Manavana Mamuni raises another question. Then in other context, it is being mentioned that Jnananandamayastatma. The Jivatma is of the nature of knowledge and bliss, Jnana and Ananda. So that is what is being mentioned extensively in the Upanishads. Here Pidalokacharya is mentioning Sheshatvame Atma of the Swarupa. How is it possible? So then he says, Sheshatvame in Avadharippanim. Why is Pidalokacharya stressing or asserting that Sheshatva itself is the main nature of the Jivatma? Because Jnananandamayastatma and several other Vedic injunctions specifically mention that the Jivatma is of the nature of knowledge and bliss, Jnana and Ananda. Why is Pidalokacharya insisting like this? Then he says, Atmavastuvukku allada podum Swarupamillayo venna arudicheihirar Sheshatvamillada podu Swarupamillai enne. Sheshatvamillada podu Atmapahara Rupamana Swatantriya Buddhi Nadakkayale Swarupam Arindavidum Ennumattai Darshipikkirar Medirendu Vakyattale Atmapaharamavade enne Todangi. Atmapaharam ennade Swatantram Ninave Swatantramam Podu Illayai Vidum. So he says, Sheshatvamallada Podu Atmapahara Rupamana Swatantriya Buddhi Nadakkayane. So when a person does not realize his subservience or Sheshatva to the Supreme Lord, there is a very possibility that he will feel that I am independent. I know what to do. I have killed so many people. I have taught a lesson to so many people. I am going to teach these people a lesson. Aso maya hatashatruhu hanishyeta paranati. I have thousands and thousands of followers. A person might feel. Adhyaha abhijanavanasmi konyosti sadrisho maya. Nobody is equivalent to me. Because I have a good form, I have hundreds of followers, I can do anything I want. If a person thinks like this, he is having asuri sampat as per the Bhagavad Gita. That means a person, he has stolen himself. What do you mean by stealing? What do you mean by robbery, burglary? You forcefully take away something that belongs to another person, then that is robbery or burglary. So here, if I actually, this Atma, which is there in this body, belongs to the Supreme Lord. So it is totally Paratantra. If I think this Jivatma belongs to me only, then what happens? That person is known as Atmapahari, one who has stolen away the Atma. Because he has forcefully taken away the Jivatma, though it is his own Atma, his own soul or self, whatever you call it in English. He has stolen it from the Lord because he thinks he is independent. It is totally dependent and subservient and belongs to the Supreme Lord. If a person doesn't realize that and he thinks it belongs to me, then what happens? He is actually known as a stealer or a thief who has stolen his own Atma. That is why he says, Atma paharamavade swatantramindinadinaive. So who is a thief who has stolen the Atma, who thinks that I am independent? I can do whatever I want. I am commanding everything. Then what happens? Swatantramam polu illayai vidum. If a person thinks like that, then what happens? He loses his existence. His Atma will actually cease to exist. So see how severely, Pilladokacharya says, what is the fruit or result of a person who thinks that I am independent? So everybody has to realize that this Jivatma is dependent, subservient to the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, he will become a thief, and as a result, he will lose his Atma, he will lose his very existence. So it is very, very, very important to first understand, know, understand, and then realize that this Jivatma belongs to the Supreme Lord and not to myself. That is what he is going to tell later. Very beautiful example. Devaru heliksheshamana puroda shattai naikiduma pole Ishvara sheshamana atmavastvai samsari heliksheshama kuhai, etc. It is going to come in the next few sutras. That is the 62nd sutra, which we will study when we come there. So, Sheshatramillada podu Atmapahara Rupamana Swatantriya Buddhi Nadakayale Swarupam Ariddavidum Yennumattai Darshipikkirar Melirendu Vakyattale Atmapaharamavade Yennetudangi Adavade Yonyatha Santamatmanam Manyatha Pratipadyate Kim Tena Nakatam Papam Chorenatmapaharina Endre Sarva Papa Moolamahachunna Atmapaharamavade Tan Swarupam Swatantram Yengira Pratipatti Swatantramamalavil Asanneva Yengirapadiye Swarupam Illayai Vidum Ingai Ahayal Sheshatramillada Podu Swarupam Illai Ennattattillai Ennu Karuthu. So he says, the question is raised, is it such a great sin to feel that I am independent? Yes. Because all the sins that a Jivatma commits is on account of his inherent thought that he is independent. Because if he has realized that he is subservient to the Supreme Lord, he is part of the Supreme Lord, he is totally commanded by the Supreme Lord, he can never, never, never keep a step in the wrong direction. Suppose I tell lies. Telling lies is one of the serious crimes according to our Shastras. So despite knowing that if I tell a lie, if I utter a lie, what does it mean? It means that I have not realized the realization that I am subservient to the Supreme Lord has not dawned upon me. So it is very, very important to realize that this Jivatma is subservient to the Supreme Lord. And if the person doesn't realize, then it means he is a thief of the highest order, and also he can never have any realization of the higher order later on. In this context, there is a very beautiful shloka by Swami Parashara Bhattar. I don't know, I don't remember the entire shloka. I'll just see if it is available because it's very pertinent to the current context. So, since especially Keshavacharya is a great devotee of the Srilingam temple, as we all are, I want to narrate this shloka authored by the great Parashara Bhattar, of whom I am a great, great fan, to put it in today's language, but I am also a great devotee of him. Once again, Gunair Dasyam Upagataha, which is as follows. I immediately googled it and got it. Tvamme hamme kutastate tadapi kutaidam veda moola pramanat etachanadi siddhad anubhava vibhavat sopi sakrosha eva kvakrosha kasya gitadishu mama viditaha kotra sakshi suji syat hantatvat pakshapati saiti vrikalahe mrigya madhyastavatvam. extremely wonderful shloka. So the meaning is as follows. Once when Swami Parashara Bhattar went to the Srirangam temple, the Abhishekam of the wonderful Namberumal, as he is known, the Utsava Murti, had just been completed. And the Lord Namberumal was still adorned with the wet cloth that is actually that the Archakas make him wear when the Abhishekam has to be performed. So they were yet to actually remove the wet cloth and then do all the rituals and then adorn him with a new cloth. So at that time, so for probably 5 minutes or 10 minutes, for all the other paraphernalia to come and for the physical activities to take place, there will be a gap of 5 to 10 minutes. So at that time, Swami Parashara Bhattar went there and then he saw the Supreme Lord Namberumal, that is the Utsava Murti, standing there, having completed his Abhishekam and standing there wearing the wet cloth. Then immediately Swami Parashara Bhattar had a beautiful conversation, imaginary conversation with the Supreme Lord. So he said, why are you standing here like this in front of me, wearing a wet cloth? So then what happened? A dialogue occurred in the mind of Swami Parashara Bhattar. So he said, when Swami Parashara Bhattar went near the Lord, it seems that the Lord told, Tvam me. He told Swami Parashara Bhattar, you belong to me. So Swami Namberumal is the Supreme Lord Narayana, and Parashara Bhattar imagines himself to be an ordinary Jivatma who has not realized his subservience or Sheshatva. So as he went there, then Namberumal has utmost compassion for his subjects, for his children, the Jivatma who we are. So it seems Namberumal told Swami Parashara Bhattar, Tvam me, Tvam, you belong to me. Mama me, that is the genitive case. Tvam mama, so you belong to me. Then Parashara Bhattar, who actually puts himself in the place of a Jivatma, he said, no, I cannot accept it. Aham me, I belong to me only. Who said I belong to you? You are not telling what is correct. I don't belong to you, I belong to me only. Then Swami Lord Namberumal asked, how can you tell it? How can you tell that you belong to yourself? Actually, you belong to me. Then Swami Parashara Bhattar said, he was like almost quarreling. Kutastate tadapi kutaha idam. So when there is a quarrel between two people, one person accuses the other by saying, you are telling a lie. Then what will the other person, the opposite person say? You are telling a lie, I am not telling a lie. This is how quarrels happen in the world, as we know. So as soon as Namberumal said, how do you say you belong to yourself? Then Swami Parashara Bhattar, who is actually in the who visualizes himself in the place of an ordinary Jivatma, says, how can you tell that I belong to you? How can you tell that I belong to you? Then he says, then Swami Namberumal says, Vedamula Pramanati. Etaccha anadi siddhat anubhava vibhavat. Then he says, Swami Parashara Bhatta, he tells Swami Parashara Bhatta, the number man says, no, see, why are you becoming, why are you actually becoming so emotional? I want to convince you that you belong to me because it has been mentioned in the Vedas and also Anadi Siddhati Anubhava Vibhavati. And several great people have, from time immemorial, great people have realized that the Jivatma belongs to the Supreme Lord. Therefore, I am telling this. Then Swami Parashara Bhatta says, Sopi Sakrosha Eva. No, I don't believe your Pramanas. I don't accept your Vedas. Who told that what is mentioned in the Vedas is correct? Because it is you who has told the Vedas. Because yo brahmanam vidadhati purvam yo vai vedamscha prahinoti tasmai. So can you quote a partial pramana or a pramana or a text that is partial to you when there is a debate? Can you invite a judge who is partial to give the verdict? I don't accept all these things. And even those who realized that the Jivatma is subservient to the Supreme Lord, they are all your servants. Automatically they will favor you when there is a dispute. Then Lord number one says, Kwa kroshaha. Why should I be partial? Why should I say something that is not good to you? Kasya Gita Rishumama Viditaha. No, not only in the Vedas, even in the Gita it has been mentioned that Mamayivamshaha Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha, etc., etc. Then the Jivatma, who is visualized to be himself as Parashara Bhatta visualizes himself to be, he says, Kotra Sakshi. How do I believe that Gita is authentic? Who is the person? Who is the witness who can certify that the Gita is perfect? It has been authentic. It is mentioning the truth only. Because Ham Tattvat Pakshapati. Even that is a literature that is actually partial to you. So why should I actually accept that I am subservient to you? So the Jivatma, who is in the garb of Parashara Bhatta, asks, or rather Parashara Bhatta, who is in the garb of the Jivatma, asks, Iti Nrikalahe. So when there is a quarrel between two people, where something cannot be proved on account of witnesses or on account of some other means, then what happens? There are certain methods of doing a pratigna that is prevalent in the Indian context, that was prevalent in the Indian context. Of course, today also it might be prevalent, but it has been abused to such a large extent. So suppose there is a quarrel between two persons. One person will say, I have given him 1,000 rupees or 1 lakh rupees or 1 crore rupees, $1 million as a loan. The other person says, no, he has not given it to me. Because there is no witness, there is no evidence, how do I believe? Then what happens? How to decide? Then in those days, there were certain ways. So then the middleman or the person who is supposed to resolve the dispute, he will say, you do one thing. You actually, what they will do is, many types of such practices are there. So they used to go to the temple, and after performing the arati, the person who is supposed to pledge or swear. So that arati will be offered in front of the person. And the person will have to swear that what I am telling is the truth. And he will actually extinguish the arati or the flame of the arati and say, yes, what I am telling is the truth. I have not taken money from him. That is one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is, so the person will wear a tulasi hara or a garland of tulasi, which is offered to the Lord and then given to him. And then he will stand in front of the Lord, wearing wet clothes. Yes, like that. What you have told is correct. So wearing wet clothes, he will wear a tulasi garland and then he will say, yes, what I am telling is the truth. So he will swear. But if I am telling the truth, I may lose myself. I may become the recipient of several heinous sins and I may go to Naraka or something. So here there is no resolution between Swami Namberumal and Parashara Bhattar, who is representing the Jiva. So then what is Namberumal doing? He is telling, please believe me. What I am telling is the truth. So that is why I am wearing a small tulasi hara and wearing wet clothes. And then I am actually pleading with you. At the same time, I swear that. So plead fully or something like that. I am swearing that you belong to me. Kindly accept it. See how beautifully Parashara Bhattar has visualized a conversation between the Supreme Lord Namberumal and himself. So it's as if Namberumal is actually pleading with the Jivatma, saying that I am standing in front of you in wet clothes, wearing a single tulasi hara and swearing that you belong to me. Very beautiful. This is a Muktaka Shloka. So which actually was mentioned by Swami Parashara Bhattar when he actually went to have the darshan of Namberumal, who had just completed his Abhisheka and was standing there with wet clothes. So tvam me ham me kutastat tadapi kutaidam vedamuna pramana etacchānādi siddhād anubhava vibhavat sopi sākrosha eva kvakroshaha kasya gītādishu mama viditaha kotra sakshi sudhi syat antatvat pakshapāti saha iti nrikalahe mragya madhyasthavatvam. It is very pertinent to the present context. That is why I mentioned, though it is not mentioned directly in the commentary of the Mumuksupadi. So we complete the class today with that. And I also completed the explanation of the sutra. Further, a few issues are there which will come do in the next class.
Thank you, Swami, for Parashara பேசுனது ரொம்ப நல்லா இருந்தது. ரொம்ப thank you so much.
Thank you. Credit should go to Swami Parashara Bhattar and not me. Because he has authored such a wonderful shloka and visualized an entire conversation between him and the Supreme Lord, which only a stature of only an acharya of his stature can actually do.
And you raised awareness in us, Swami. That's why I'm very appreciative.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, any other observations, or we can conclude?
So, which sutra have we finished up to?
So we are 3/4 way through 57. We have finished the original text of the 57th sutra. So the commentary we have to study of the 57th sutra Some last portion of the commentary is remaining of the 57th Sutra.
And you were mentioning it's Antimopaya?
Sorry?
Antimopaya.
Yes. Yes, what is the question?
So, I'm sorry, before you were mentioning Antimopaya.
Yes,
and
yes.
So some people may think, what is this? What is this? Can you explain again, just very simply, this Antimopaya
Antima means
concept?
final.
Yes.
Antima means final. Final upaya, final means. So that is Antimopaya. That is Bhagavata Sannidhil Achidvat Paratantriyam. So Paratantriya or total dependence as if an insentient object with regard to a Bhagavata. That is Antimopaya. That is why it is the fifth stage. First stage is Bhagavat Paratantriya, Bhagavat Sheshatva. That is subservience to the Supreme Lord. Second stage is Bhagavat Paratantriya. Paratantra, that is why I said in Sheshatva, small iota of Swatantriya is there. Lakshmana does not wait for the acceptance of his services by Rama. It is voluntary. He says, you have to accept it. But Bhagavata Paratantriya is the next stage. Bhagavat Paratantriya, that is depicted by Bharata. Then Bhagavata Sheshatva, Bhagavata Paratantriya. So being Shesha to a Bhagavata is Bhagavata Sheshatva. Fourth state is Bhagavata Paratantriya. And fifth state is Bhagavata held Sannidhina, Achidvat Paratantriya. So Jadavat Paratantriya or Achidvat Paratantriya with regard to a Bhagavata, that is the fifth stage. So that is the mark of a true Shri Vaishnava. There are several statements in various works. It says, Kraya Vikrayarha Dashaya Samindhate. So Kraya Vikrayarha Dashaya means like it existed in America several years ago, several centuries ago, where the slaves were actually traded as if they were commodities. Of course, today it is being done in cricket and football, but it is done in a very sophisticated way. So players are traded from one place to another. But since it is done in a very sophisticated way, people do it. But that is how, suppose I want to take Keshav Dasji and sell him in a market, he should not object to it. He should say yes. And if he does the same with regard to me, I should also be ready. Means, nobody does like that practically, but that is the level of Paratantriya that one should have with regard to Bhagavatas. So that is known as Antimopaya Nishtha. And that is, we find that existed with regard to the, it existed, such a mentality existed in the disciples of Manavalama. That's why he says, Apagata Madamanaihi, Antimopaya Nishtaihi, Adhigata Paramarthaihi, Arthakamanapekshi, etc. Nirjita Nikhila Janasordhi, Nirjita Krotulodhi, Varavara Munibhrityai Rastume Nityayoga. That's what an Acharya actually asks for. A very beautiful shloka. It has to be explained at great length. I'll explain it on some other day. But this is the fifth state, that is Antimopaya, or the final Upaya, that is being subservient to a Bhagavata as if the person who is being subservient is like a insentient object. So Bhagavat Sheshatva, Bhagavat Paratantriya, Bhagavata Sheshatva, Bhagavata Paratantriya, and Bhagavata Achidvat Paratantriya. That is the fifth stage, which is Antima. Antima means final. So that is the final Upaya, because when he is totally subservient to a Bhagavata, that means an Acharya. then what happens? Moksha is guaranteed. Because it is mentioned, Datte Rangi Nijamapi Padam Deshika Desha Kanchi. Once again, Parashara Bhatta. He says Rangi. That means who is the person who is the head of Ranga. That is Ranganatha. He will give his own place, that is Vaikuntha, to this Jivatma based on the orders of the Guru. It says Deshika Adesha Kanchi. So Datte Rangi Nijamapi Padam Deshika Adesha Kanchi. So ultimately it is nothing but Acharya Abhimana which is mentioned in the Sriyachana Bhushana of Pillalokacharya. So he says Acharya Abhimana me Uttarakam. So
Right.
he should be totally subservient to the Acharya. That is Achiddat Paratantriya with regard to the Acharya.
So this
But Acharya has to be a realized soul. That is also to be noted.
So this comes at the culmination of the Srivachana Bhushanam.
Sorry?
Of course, Pillalokacharya has taught in Artha Panchakam. He's mentioned Acharya Abhimanam, and it comes to that point at the end of Srivachana Bhushanam that it's the final conclusion.
Yes. Because he says Acharya Abhimanantam Prapatti Pole Upayantarangalak Angamumai Swatantramai Rikkum Bhakti Lashaktanak Prapatti Lashaktanak Ide Prathamam Swarupatte Pallavitamakum Hindu Pushpitamakum Anantaram Phalapariyantamakum. And he completes Sriyachana Bhushanam with those statements. So he says Acharya Abhimaname Uttarakam. So even when we become totally incapable of performing prapatti also, then what happens? We become totally subservient to an Acharya who is realized. Then that is done. Our task is done. Okay.
So
any other observation?
So these stages are also shown. They're shown by the brothers of Rama in Ramayana.
Yes, because we have to have a practical example. Because our knowledge of Ramayana people's knowledge of Ramayana is fairly good. And the verses of Ramayana have also been quoted in this context. So where it says Shatrugna Nitya Shatrugna Nitaha, just carried away. So it's like that. Yes, somebody else wanted to ask a question.
Adiyan Dasan Namaskaram. This is Ram Srinivas.
Yes, please go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, Ram Srinivas, you go ahead first, Swami.
Yeah, thank you, Govindacharya. Swami, I just had one question. You had mentioned that the ultimate goal of a Jivatma is to, have the Sheshatva, which is the subservience. But you also separately mentioned that, we are bounded by our past karmic actions. So now, how do we, relate to that contradiction? So on the one side, we are bounded by past karmic actions. So how do we, in practice, develop this subservience to the Lord?
No, that is why we have to, the main aim of the Mumuksupadi is we should engage in the japa of the Ashtakshara Mahamantra, where continuously what is known as Anusandhana. We continuously, actually repeatedly express our subservience, though we have not realized it. We express our subservience, which is the essence of the entire Ashtakshara Mahamantra. And once the Supreme Lord showers His grace on us, finally our Swatantriya Brahma, or the illusion of our being independent, will go, and automatically we will attain moksha. So the entire meaning why all these concepts are being explained here is we should engage in the japa of the Ashtakshara Mahamantra and the mantra, which is once again a continuation and expansion of the Ashtakshara Mahamantra. So that is how it has to be done.
Okay. Thank you, Swami. Namaskaram.
Swami, I just wanted to ask, you said Acharya Abhimana is guaranteed way to attain moksham. But obviously the acharya must be qualified. But if we have full faith, okay, our acharya is fully qualified, he's totally qualified, but he might not be, how it is that, what happens to that jiva? Is it that just as long as he has faith that he is qualified, that the Lord will take care of the rest?
So, do you mean to say, how do we know that whether the acharya is qualified or not?
Yeah, we know that the Lord is always qualified, so that's definitely guaranteed. But you're saying that this way is the final way and the most guaranteed way, but we have to ensure that the acharya is qualified.
Yes, that is why what happened, whether now today we have been initiated by an acharya. So how do we know whether he is qualified or recognized? That is why we say Adiyan Ramanujadasan. So ultimately through this acharya, we actually reach the feet of Ramanujacharya. That is why it is a very beautiful statement or shloka by Kuresha, that is the father of Parashara Bhatta. He says, there is a question asked by the Lord. That is the premise to say the shloka. Why should I accept you? Why should I grant you moksha? That is the answer. Question seemingly asked by the Lord to Swami Kuresha, who was the father of Swami Parashara Bhatta, about whom we have discussed so far. He says, Ramanujangri Sharanosmi. We know Ramanujacharya was a real so. Because of he conversed directly with the Lord in the Sharanagati Ganja. And he had the vision of Vaikuntha itself when he was here. So there is no doubt that Ramanujacharya was a realized soul. So ultimately, through the present Acharya, we are actually the Shishyas of Ramanujacharya himself. That is why you say Ramanujadasaha. Though we owe allegiance, we owe our subservient to the present Acharya who has initiated also. In case he may have some fallacies as a human being and other things. But that does not come in the way of our attaining moksha. Because ultimately it is Ramanujacharya only who is actually our sum and substance to attain moksha. And that is what Kurattalvan or Kuresha, as he is known, he says, Ramanujangri Sharanosmi Kula Pradipaha. Who am I? If you are asking, I want to tell you, he tells the Lord. I am with great pride. I want to declare I am the subservient Shishya or disciple of Ramanujacharya who has taken refuge under his feet. Ramanuja Angri Sharanosmi. Then who is Ramanuja? Asitsa Yamuna Munehi. He is the direct disciple of Yamunacharya. And who is Yamunacharya? He is the grandson of Nathamuni. Because who is Nathamuni? Akritrimat Charanaaravinda Prema Prakareshavajim. The maximum level of bhakti or prema or love a person can have manifested itself in the person of Nathamuni. Person called Nathamuni also. And who is Nathamuni? He was directly initiated by Nammalvar. Who is Nammalvar? He was directly initiated by Vishwaksena. Who is Vishwaksena? He was directly initiated by Goddess Lakshmi. And who is Goddess Lakshmi? She is directly initiated by you. So I belong to such a hoary tradition, due to which you cannot reject me on any count. I claim. So though this is what is known as Shasartika Ahankara. So Kurattalvan says, I claim my right to be given moksha. Not because I have any substance, I am of any great value. I feel myself I have any value. But I have a great value. That is, I have surrendered to the feet of Lord Ramanuja, Acharya Ramanuja. And therefore I have a claim to moksha. So when he is so much devoted to the Acharya, then the Lord cannot reject If he is devoted to the Lord, sometimes the Lord may reject. But when he has surrendered to the feet of Ramanujacharya totally, the Lord cannot reject. So that is why even though the Acharya that we see directly, he might be a human being, he is a human being, he may have several fallacies, he may be given to kama, krodha, etc. He may have his own shortcomings. But that doesn't matter in this case, because ultimately he is the representative of Ramanujacharya. And he leads us to Ramanujacharya, through whom we attain moksha. So that is why I said, Datte Rangi Nijamapi Padam Deshika Deshakangshi. Lord Ranganatha will bestow a place in his abode of Vaikuntha based on the orders of the Acharya. Deshika means Acharya. So Deshika Deshakangshi Nijamapi Padam Datte. That's what he says, Parasara Bhakti says. So it's a wonderful philosophy, wonderful sampradaya. Only thing is we have to follow it with such conviction, and then we can see the fruits slowly. So, and all the logically any objection is raised, they have been answered. So I feel it's a sampradaya that is well-rounded, complete in all aspects. Not that I am telling, one can realize when all such questions are answered in the treatises or in the words of our Purvacharyas.
Amazing. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
Even I very much enjoyed sharing what little, not what I know, what has been given to me by my acharyas, my revered father and my acharya and others. So it is a great sharing of knowledge that I think is happening. So thank you. I should be thankful to all of you because you have listened with so much of devotion and dedication and all those things. So I should be very much grateful. Jayat Raman Jayat Yesha Chatura Chaturakshari Namavastham Prapadyante Jantavo Hantamadrsha Punyamboja Vikasaya Papadvan Takshaya Shriman Avirabhut Bhumo Ramanuja Divakaraha Trinīkrita Virinchari Nirankusha Vibhutayaha Namandyapadam Bhoja Samashrena Shalinaha. One small, when I was mentioning this shloka, it came. So it is Kurathalvan or Kuresha who is laying claim to Paramapada. It's like suppose somebody wants to enter the White House and he says, hey, Joe Biden is my uncle. How can you refuse entry to the White House? I am his nephew. You can never, otherwise, if you refuse, you may go to the approach the guards of the White House and tell, if you refuse entry, see what happens to you. So he may even threaten the Dwarapalakas or the guards who are guarding the White House and says, I am Joe Biden's nephew, how can you refuse entry to me? So similarly, Kurathalvan says, since I have surrendered to Ramanujacharya, how can I actually, how can you deny entry to Paramapada? So that was his wonderful conviction, which is based on, once again, Antimopaya Nishtha or Acharya Abhimana or whatever we call it. Thank you very much.
Adi and Ramanuja Dasan.
The news, Miss.